They've only just started in the Great Lake, and they narrowly avoided hentai. Let's get to the part where they go through the Marlin Port of Yukon. The Marlin Port ship of Yukon. The giant smokestack that was used to signal Mephistopheles and others. The shipping containers that made up much of it was an overwhelming sight. It was also a place that's unlikely to have the exotic phenomena that appears in the open waters. When all those on Mephistopheles disembarked, Virgilius told them that they have to go their separate ways. Yes, their separate ways for a time. He and Charon have business to attend to. More likely, he has business to attend to there, and she's just along for the ride. Rodia wanted to know what it was this time. Virgilius paused, then saying that he's looking to buy some mermaid perfume, and to leave it at that. Might as well say, it's on a need-to-know only basis, and right now, you don't. Well, that would have been more respectful. Regardless, he told her this as he was looking at the ad, where they're apparently extracted from their left fins, and there's a special discount. What's wrong with the right fins? Or is that more expensive? Don Quixote asked if he was going to procure some for them. She was curious about this and other things of the Great Lake. Faust then explained that a significant source of income for the people of District 21 comes from selling whale and mermaid products, including whale oil, mermaid tears, mermaid perfumes, whale cuisine, and more. To list a few examples. Welcome to Greenpeace Hell! Then Don Quixote saw someone selling ice cream. Gregor questioned the appeal of sardine whale-flavoured ice cream. And no, this is not something that's in the twisted imagination of Kim Ji-hoon. Fish in ice cream is something that's actually real in Japan. Heathcliff sees this as savoury nosh, even if they look funny. Don Quixote was more interested in the flavours of the Marlin whale ice cream. Yi Sang was asking Virgilius to accompany them to their destination. He told him that he's done his job by guiding them there. It's not his responsibility to guide them all the way there, just point them in the right direction. Yi Sang agreed that he might be correct, but his words are rather impersonal. Virgilius confirms this as he doesn't intend to make friends with any of them, nor does he want to. Who can blame him? He's there to restore those that have been changed and can be restored, at least in theory. And part of that is putting up with a mix of with a mix of the traumatized, the unbalanced, the emotionally retarded, and at least one lunatic. He's barely able to tolerate speaking to them. The idea that he might want to make friends with them is comical. He told them not to let those small talks give them the wrong impression. Then he directed his attention to Faust, who told them that their allies are expecting them. The Before team will relay the location of the branch facility to them. The location of the Golden Brower. Yes, the Golden Bar, as in why they're going through this in the first place. And according to their last communication, they should be waiting for them. In the dark corners of Marlin Port, Sinclair noted the spookiness of it. Roger didn't see anyone there, asking Faust what this was about. Faust can tell that she's doubting her. That was, well, where they were was the location that she had relayed to her. This amused Heathcliff. It meant that they got there first, calling the before team the belated team. Heathcliff, I'd say don't give up on your day job, but considering how many times you've died, you're doing at that. Faust then corrected him by saying that they arrived 1 hour and 30 minutes behind schedule. Otis recalled that the LCCB agents that they met in District 10 were already there, and this resulted in an awkward silence as they were reminded of Sard and Effie. It was quite a painful reminder as well. Then they heard someone stirring from their slumber. Massault believing that they chose to sleep while they were waiting. Dante didn't think that they deserved Sard and Effie. Then the haggard man complained that they don't seem to have a watch. What's wrong with them? Yi Sang apologized, saying that they were delayed. The haggard man asked them why they didn't take that into account before they left. He rose from his slumber and stretched. Dante noted that he sounded aggressive. Then Hong Lu noticed something. Dante advised caution, but Hong Lu went up to the haggard man whose badge was upside down, noting the lack of standards in his appearance. The haggard man was unsure of what to make of this. Hong Lu noticed the sticky red thing on his... the upside-down LCCB badge was soaked in blood. This is clearly not one from the before team, and there was clearly fighting between the before team and whoever this individual represents. Realizing that they're onto him, he was hoping for a more dramatic effect. Apparently, the team leader of the before team was loitering in their territory. Seeing this as bravely stupid. Ryushu saw this act as an insult to Arts, telling him to get to the point before she sink or slice your neck clean. The haggard man says, them being tardy, as well as impatient, was bad enough, and then he told them to listen to him. They know that Limbus Company is looking for the golden bar, and Otis asked what they did to the team leader. According to the haggard man, the team leader is alive and well, and then Otis understood this to be a hostage negotiation. This was not the first time the kidnapper has done this. His demand was simple. Give them the cash, and their friend will be returned. Don't give them the cash, and their friend will receive burial by shipping container. Heathcliff, a former thug, saw this as distasteful. Yeah, you know it's bad when he's disgusted by this. And he's done some sketchy things in the past. At least that's what was implied so far. The kidnapper advised against using violence in this situation. Anything goes wrong and their friend dies. While it's straightforward, do as they say, and they can continue on their journey to find the golden bar. They'll even throw in a full-on gourmet tour for them just to sweeten the deal. Heathcliff resists the urge to smash his skull in. Gregor asks for time to discuss this between them. He sees that there's no point in escalating this, as this will only draw unnecessary attention to them, and might get that LCCB agent killed. Otis understood that the kidnapper has the upper hand in this negotiation, doubting that they know much about the golden bars, when they clearly kidnapped that agent to get a hefty ransom. Don Quixote saw many of evil nature in her travels. Seeing this brazen villainy as not been encountered before, Ryosho saw this as classless, and as grossly... Its grotesquerie was without a cause. Urotis understood that charging head-on will only attract their friends that might be part of a powerful local syndicate. Massault saw their chances of victories as slim if that happens, as they lack the intel to effectively maneuver this situation. Roger understood how rash action can prove Roger understood how rash action can prove unwise, as, well... For a start, she pointed out they didn't know how big that syndicate was. And it's not the first time they've done this, kidnapping. Honglu theorized that there might be a chance that they might be a minor gang. Heathcliff suggested that they crash them before they can harm the hostage. Urotis corrected this by saying that this might mean that their syndicate might be so small and scattered that it might be impossible to trace, annoying Heathcliff. Dante then realized that they don't know anything. Well, that hasn't stopped you before, why should this be any different? Sinclair was nervous, asking if they're really going to... Well, if they don't pay up, Heathcliff answered, by saying that he knows their scum, found everywhere in the city. If this goes badly, the hostage will be killed, and there won't be a body left for them to find. Yes, you would know your own kind, would you? As you used to be that. Either that or they're low even by your standards. The images were awful, and the speculation wasn't helping. The kidnappers were crowding among themselves. Spirits were high, knowing that the options of the damned dozen were limited, so Dante wanted to start by asking how much they want. Ishmael was exasperated. She was standing there, arms crossed over the harpoon that was resting on her chest, believing Dante crazy for them wanting to pay the kidnappers. Yeah. As that's based on history, is more likely to encourage them. Dante asked what else could they do. As the hostage, Ishmael cared not for their excuses. She cared only if this was the best course of action that they could come up with. Massault said that any doubts about the manager's decisions, and then Ishmael completed his sentence by saying, are unnecessary, seeing him as woefully predictable. Urotis was intolerant of her doubting Dante's decisions, seeing this as insubordination, not caring how competent a sailor she was. Ishmael didn't care, as they've not given an order for her to not do anything, asking what her problem was. She didn't want to sit there and watch it play out. She then strode towards the kidnappers, her tone and expression telling the others that she didn't give a about what they said, telling them that she'll gladly accept the consequences, shooting a fleeting glance at Dante before raising her harpoon, then completing that sentence by saying, for insubordination. Then she thrust her well-sharpened harpoon right into one of the kidnappers' foreheads. This shocked Dante. Her action in that moment was so full of absolute confidence that none tried to stop her, or even thought about stopping her. Ryosho then said, OOF, or obliteration of forehead. Sinclair asked Ishmael what did she just do? His expression was the same kind of pain he felt during his time in Kol, outside of his burning home. She was putting the LCCB agent held hostage at risk because of them. It was unclear if it was tears of rage or tears of despair that he was holding back. But he was concerned that it'd be Sard and Effie all over again, asking if she's moved on from what happened after 2 months. Well, give or take. Dante saw a visualization of his memory of that time, including Sard and Effie, excellent field agents who suffered to their last moments before their eyes, helpless, only able to watch as they died in front of his own old home. He'll never be able to forget that. Then Dante recalled that vision of Ishmael's past at the boatworks, her own trauma, involving a large whale, when her hair was shorter. Then we snapped back to reality, and Ishmael decided that Sinclair's questions weren't worth answering. She strode towards one of the closed shipping containers and kicked it open. It was full of dead bodies. It had clearly, or rather, they had clearly been there for some time, long enough for decay to truly set in. Dante was alarmed at this. Ishmael noted that one body was dead for at least a week, and isn't who they were looking for. Yes, definitely not what they were looking for, as one with one of them was clearly a tourist visiting Marlin Port, one that was loaded, as it would require a lot of arm to travel to the Great Lake just for its sights, and could also afford the pirates' demands. Kidnap, extort, execute. This is how syndicates work in District 21. The names and organizations may change with time, but the methods remain the same. They're everywhere, like vermin. These pirates never return the hostages. They keep asking for more and more for the ransom until the money runs out. Then they kill the hostages. Don Quixote sees them as numerous. How many tragedies of this kind happened? Why is there no hero to stop these villains in this place of tourism? Roger understood that this means that there's bigger fish looking out for the small fries. This didn't matter to Don Quixote, not accepting how such villains run rampant in the city. She believed that the fixers were unaware of this, believing that they're preoccupied with other tasks. How else could this be explained by? Were they to call on one of the just and honourable associations of the... Ishmael then cut her off, growing tiresome of this black and white mentality, asking if it was about time that she woke up from her delusions. She's sick of her rambling about justice and villains. This shut Don Quixote up. The reason why the syndicates are rampant is because they're either too powerful to be wiped out completely, or the fixers have not been hired to take care of them. Fixers are there were no noble order that fights for truth and justice. I mean, what are you expecting? A vigilante with an animal fetish to appear? Fixers are soldiers of fortune. Most typically follow the money. Very few are like Kali, the Red Mist, as in those that it's not about the money for them, at least not primarily. As for the rest, it's get promoted, last long enough to retire, or die. That simple. Okay, before I go on with this rant involving this lunatic with a lance and her simplistic view of reality, let's move on. Ishmael stopped her own rant and decided that it was pointless. Talking to a brick wall would be more productive. Don Quixote isn't going to listen to her anyway. It was frustrating to have to sit there and just... that shabbiness. Why can't they get anything done in time? By now, they should have talked to the LCCB agent, got the intel that they needed. Ishmael's eyes were filled with wrath, impatience, and anxiety. All were building inside of her. Dante knew that they couldn't hold her back. Then one of the kidnappers, annoyed by things not going as planned, said that they brought this on themselves, asking them what syndicate they just... Then Ishmael basically said, "This, let's get this over with." And they fought the pirates. After fighting their way through a sizable group of pirates, they went from hostage negotiators to interrogators. The kidnapper complained and warned them that when their boss hears of this, they're all finished, suggesting that they bow down and beg for... And then Ishmael approached her, unnerving the kidnapper, who said that she hadn't finished, telling Ishmael to get away. Then she stabbed the kidnapper, seeing that as convenient. Dante was silent about this. Ishmael found it nice that they can go up the chain and talk to their boss, not wanting to waste any more time. She doesn't want to have to crack open shipping containers and go through all those rotting corpses. She asked the kidnapper if she can still point. The kidnapper was begging for mercy. Ishmael then asked her to point at the location of her boss on the map, which was on the brochure of Marlin Port, shoving it in the pirate's face, who struggled to do so, but she pointed at the location. Then, before Dante could order her to stop, she finished the pirate off. She was unconcerned. They had their next stop, asking what they were waiting for. Gregor asked what the odds of that LCCB agent that they were supposed to meet with is still live. Ishmael answered by saying that it depends on how rich they think Limbus company is. Gregor was less than optimistic, and said that they could already be dead. Ishmael wanted to at least find the body, which could at least give them something. Sinclair was worried that all they'll find is his corpse. He didn't think that he could forgive. Ishmael asked if he meant that he couldn't forgive her, but actually it was he wouldn't be able to forgive all of them, as they didn't try to save him. Dante wanted to talk to Faust, who was listening. They asked if Ishmael was going to be okay. She could give answers regarding her insubordination and emotional state, but it would help in this case. Very little. Ortiz told Dante that insubordination and near-rogue behavior in any other organization would have resulted in an on-the-spot execution. She's aware that Dante lacked the authority to do that, but believes that penalties are needed for proper management. Dante noted that she's always on their side. Well, ever since Dante woke up on the bus, anyway. After Virgilius saved your District 4. Ortiz was a leader once, so she understood their position. Dante was unsure if they could manage Ishmael anymore. Rash or not, it might have been the right action in this scenario, but if she decided to quit, or at least tried to, as Faust would tell them that there are various clauses preventing that. Although I doubt that Ishmael would be bothered about red tape. It's not like they could force her to come along should her hostility escalate. She acted without orders earlier. She did say that she'd follow their orders, but Dante was unsure of how long that would remain true. Ortiz saw this as not mattering. They don't need 12 of them. Dante was asking if she was saying that they should leave Ishmael. As in, the next time Ishmael dies, she stays dead. I doubt that Dante can select who is brought back. It's either all of them are brought back or none. Or it is then said that she wandered for many years to get to this point with determination for a single cause in the contract. Yes, a clause in the contract rather, sorry. She was ready to face all the hardships that would appear. Adversity, conflicts, and loss of comrades are the cold, hard truth of that quest. All of them will happen at some point. She then reminded them that she'd remain by their side, of course. Dante has a growing suspicion that not all have a sense of belonging from that group. Dante was the only one that did. That they'd fight as one, regardless of what happened. Well, they're doing this to deal with their unfinished business, not for some selfless cause. Well, only Don Quixote, perhaps, would be delusional enough to believe otherwise. The location that was marked on the map with that pirate's blood led Task Force Damned to Marlin Port Club, a place to go to dance your worries away, and for those that isn't prohibited for, to drink alcohol. The faint sound of music was echoing from behind the doors of the entrance. Dante asked if it was a place that they needed to be. Rodia asked if any of them have been to loud, flamboyant, deluxe dance clubs like that. Gregor would guess her. Rodia wrote off this idea as the part of the back streets of District 25 that she was from was implied to be less than affluent, even by backstreet standards, where they had to scavenge from bins of those that were much better off, relatively speaking, just to stave off hunger. She'd saw it as having about as much business there as a seller of manure-flavoured candy. That, and when people would host secret backstreets parties, Sonia would of course on. Yeah. Considering that the Eurodivie are communists in all but name, this could be seen as food hoarding. She likely visited such places in District 10, where the backstreets were more affluent. Dante then asked why they're talking about this. Roger then pointed out the bouncers at the gates. One of the bouncers was a pirate who was asking how many someone who wanted to get in was having with them today. Then that woman said 2, and was annoyed that he didn't remember her. She was on the list. He apologized and let her through. Roger noting that they're checking something with the guests before letting them in, and they had to squeeze in there or smooth somehow. Gregor understood that Roger was out, so next in line was Heathcliff. Yes, Heathcliff was looked at and he was confused and annoyed, having a desire to smash his skull in if he doesn't explain himself. Roger then told him that he should take it as a compliment, and this made him even more confused. Heathcliff then realised what he meant and explained that his syndicate was less about music and dance and more about blood, loyalty, things like that. Yes, we get it, you used to be a thug on the wrong side of the law. Well, if your syndicate had any known finger affiliates, it's definitely not with the ring, as they're big on artistic expression. And his idea of a good night out was going to a small watering hole or an old pub to drink ridiculous amounts of alcohol from old rickety tables. Clubbing wasn't his thing. and Ryushu's idea of music was the screams of fear and pain of those she slaughters. Her idea of deluxe is the walls painted red with the blood of her enemies. Her idea of dancing is people with crushed joints, forced to dance. Gregor stops her there, as that's not clubbing. That's a massacre. He was all out of options after that. Mesalt then said that he has been to such a club quite often. Likely in... Wait, there are clubs in District 14? I find that hard to believe, although it's only white and sterile in the nest. The back streets, that might be a different story, as that's quite different, if the distortion detective is any indication. Dante was silent and surprised by this statement, and Gregor thought that he was joking. Gregor, you do know who you're talking to here. He doesn't do jokes. In fact, when force-fed the cooking of Don Quixote, the Queen of Cordon Bleu, he gave a description of how bad it was with an autistic level of detail, which I can speak from personal experience, in case you're wondering. Mesalt confirmed that he wasn't joking. He failed to see why it was difficult for Gregor to accept. It was merely one of the places that he visited when he used to wander in search of life's joys. Okay, that is difficult to comprehend. Mesalt looking for life's joys. Anyway, he figured out that it's a private club where visitors need to be cleared by the bouncer before they can enter. Most bouncers are of above average mass and are likely to be armed. The key element of getting past the bouncers is... And then Ishmael cut him off there, as that would be right if it was any other club. And this surprised Rodia. Clearly she knew more than she was saying, as she walked past them and up to the entrance. Ishmael noted that it's home to a leader of a syndicate, saying that the question that they should be asking is, what are the other ways of entering it? The answer is with a syndicate member, seeing this as easy enough. Then the bouncer asked what brought her there. She was hesitant, but the bouncer was patient enough to let her speak. She then mentioned that she's Queequeg's friend. Ah yes, she is based on that story. I'll go over the source material after Ishmael's background story is known. I don't want to risk spoiling that. The bouncer wanted to confirm what she said about her being Queequeg's friend. She confirmed this, asking if he recognized that name. This changed the bouncer's expression from indifference to disbelief. He then told her to wait as he whispered into his radio. Dante was asking if he really was going to let them in. The bouncer asked if Ishmael was truly a friend of Queequeg. She was evasive and asked what if she was. The bouncer asked where Queequeg was. She was silent. The bouncer told her that it was the boss asking. This told her that the boss was in the club. He then asked again when... He asked again where Queequeg. Then the radio told him that the twin hooks were on the way. Repeat, they were... Dante didn't know what was going on. They thought they were going to sneak in. Or at least trying to. Ishmael told them that this wasn't a plan. She wanted to know if their boss was home. They can get the intel they want from them. They then fought their way through the twin hook pirates that stood between them and the club proper. After wiping the floor with the twin hook pirates, Honglu cheerfully said that he couldn't believe that they're letting them in like that. Dante told them to go in. not bothering to correct Hong Lu with the fact that they had to fight the bouncers until they were face down in a ditch or running away, and they were letting themselves in. Well, considering that they lacked the Mask of Loki and they didn't rob a bank to make Arn fly to create a distraction, that method would have to do. The guest that they observed earlier was asking if they were with anyone. Faust confirmed that she had 12 with her, and this unnerved that guest. Then the Twin Hook pirates inside caught up with them. The guest decided that it would be wise to stay out of this, apologizing for disturbing them. Then the DJ told everyone to do the famous Marlin dance of their beloved Marlin Port, which involved arms out swinging and locking, swing and lock. Heathcliff didn't get the booming bass. Yi Sang felt as if the sound waves were vibrating his entire brain matter. Ishmael told the Twin Hook pirates to get out of their way or they'll be sorry. And to get the point across, she swung her mace on the table that was nearby, shattering it, which certainly killed the party as the clubbers understood the situation and went, "This, I'm out of here." Then the D team fought those Twin Hook pirates undisturbed. Yeah. Hardly subtle, is she? Then Sinclair decided to try his hand at interrogating, but he stuttered when threatening one of the Twin Hook pirates. That he'd better tell them where his boss is before things turn ugly. The pirate didn't take him seriously, telling him to drink some more milk before he starts tossing threats like that. You wouldn't say that if you saw him in car. Sinclair then said that he was serious, telling him to talk or the next thing getting smashed is his scuttle. The Twin Hook pirate found this hilarious, telling him to calm down. The captain isn't there. If it's the hostages that they're looking for, the first mate should know. Sinclair wanted directions. The pirate told them that it's the last room at the end of the corridor. Sinclair told him to go, and when that pirate went one direction, Sinclair told him not that way, out of the club. This made the pirate nervous, apologizing for not understanding. Heathcliff was impressed by how Sinclair was improving at being intimidating. Likely meaning intimidating on purpose. And Sinclair wasn't particularly proud of this. He just wanted to get to the hostage as soon as possible. Looks like the first mate is the way to go. Until next time. Hail the rabbit!